Yes, if you heard his presentation, then the Pope Francis' teaching seemed look like a little Marxist. Any of the young Marx of the Paris manuscript, written back to humanity. And here the Pope asks to return back to the origin, nature that God gave us. Okay, that's a very, but the difference is how to put this theory in practice. That is the practical solution. And that is the difference between Marxism and Catholicism. And you need to, just thank you very much for your presentation. Now we come to the second speaker, Sister Beatrice Leung. You have also 20 to 25 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Reverends and then my colleagues. I'm very happy to come for this presentation, to give the Hong Kong Church to be known to the Catholic world. Especially right now, Hong Kong is suffering from the very brutal ruling of China, especially in the matter of democracy and then religious freedom. So that, I would like to present from the viewpoint of a Catholic social teaching, and then to see the history of development of how the Hong Kong Catholics, to put the social teaching into practice. They have a long history of 50 years. Now, right now, I'm talking about the history of development of Catholic social teaching. It doesn't mean that I have, give all the examples of the social Catholic teaching, but I have to use 4 of them, which I always use in my research, to implement the Catholic social teaching, either in China and in Hong Kong, and then in Macau or in Taiwan. The first one is the Rerum Nova Verorum. That means the New World. It was 19th century business. It was more than 100 years ago. It was because the Pope Leo XIII understand the exploitation from the capitalist to the neighbor out of industrial revolution, especially now in the British one. The second one is the Passion in Terrorist. It was a very, very dangerous age because of the nuclear war, and then in the Cold War period. That's why the Pope have mentioned the new relationship in human history based on truth, justice, and love and liberty, not only rely on nuclear power and then nuclear deterrence. The third one is when Vatican II give us the pastoral constitution on the church in the modern world. We understand that this constitution was the teaching based on the previous 2 teaching of the Pope, the New World and then the peace on earth. The last one I mentioned is the 100th year of the New World encyclical. It is a very, very significant one, I find that, because the Pope John Paul II in the 1991, he used a very common language to explain the church teaching so that the whole world understand the language. Before that, many of our church teaching encyclical, they are written in church language. The common people find that, well, it is for the church ministers, not for mine. On this one, well, I got the importance, well, message to the general public, well, saying that, well, this is a very, very good article, encyclical, because the common language, well, understood, the message understood by the common people. Well, it inspired me if I talk about the church problems, well, to avoid the church language, but the common language. Okay, in Hong Kong, we had the incubation period in implementing church social teaching. Well, we started in the age of the year of 1960s to 1984. Well, right now, I'm talking about a group of Catholic students. We call the FCS, the Federation of Catholic Students. The Catholic students led by a very, very prophetic spiritual director, the Jesuit. Well, this one is old one, retired one, Jesuit, Father Jesuit Jim Hurley. And then he only talked about the Vatican II, the teaching of the social teaching to the students. Well, the students will try to understand. That's why the Catholic students study Catholic social teaching from the Vatican II, and then, well, combined with the theology of liberation. By that time, it was very, very popular in the 70s, liberation theology. And then in the liberation theology, the sentiment orientation of socialism is there. Well, that's why, well, this group of Catholics were not welcomed by the Catholic majority in Hong Kong. But they keep on, well, to study on that. And then this small group, this small cohort of students, after 20 years, when Hong Kong will change into Chinese rule, this group of the basic students, they became professionals. They became middle class. And then they pushed the church, well, to push to implementation of the social teaching in the involvement of politics. The trained Catholic students became the pool of social movement since 1984. 1984 is very important year in Hong Kong because it started the transitional period from Hong Kong a British colony, to become a red territory, special administration in China. That's why since 1984, people are very agitating about the future. Okay, and then we have the second mention about that. Because the Marxist approach of liberation theology were not welcomed by the Vatican, and then the social teaching of the Catholic Church was not welcomed by Hong Kong Catholic Church until 1987. And even this group of Hong Kong students, well, was condemned by Archbishop Lo Guang. When he was in front of the Pope John Paul II during the linear visit to the Vatican, he wrongly criticized this cohort of Hong Kong Catholics who visits the political purge in China, and then turned to Catholic social teaching and advocating democracy and freedom. Well, these students changed. When they learned at the beginning, when they were young, well, they liked socialism. After they had witnesses, well, the political purge in China, immediately they changed to protect democracy and freedom. Okay, then the Catholic political participation in the Hong Kong transitional period, that means in the from 1984 to 1997, and then, well, the middle class and the professional are the backbone of Hong Kong Church by that time. These professional and middle class well, were the students before they joined, well, they advocate socialism, and then they converted into the Catholic Church, and then they advocate the participation of the first public election of the Legislative Council as a means to obtain democracy after 1997, because democracy is the means to protect religious freedom. Well, Bishop Joseph Chen Yijun, well, in the diocese, first to be the auxiliary bishop, then he was the leader of Hong Kong Catholic Church. The social teaching was prominent in some significance and social political issues. And then we have some issues which will make Bishop Chen very, very prominent, very popular in Hong Kong. And then, well, I have three issues. First of all, the problem of the right of apples. Well, I just talk about this one. It's very interesting. The right of apples are the children of more than 10,000 of children. They were born by the Hong Kong parents, but they were in mainland China. And then they just smuggled in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong government tried to banish them back to China. Well, with all the expenses, saying that, well, our service is not inadequate for them. But Bishop San, well, he's in his pastoral letter saying that, oh, all of you, and then, well, Hong Kong citizens, and then half of the population, they came to Hong Kong in the 1950s, right after the liberation. Right now, you had already settled down and get rich, and then get the prosperity. Why you are so selfish to allow the latecomers to come to Hong Kong? Well, it was a very, very convincing argument. Make the government just open the door and accept the case. Well, the second one is against the legislation of the Basic Law 23. The third one is the education reform. Well, I would not talk about very in detail, but in my essay, in my article in the book, you can read in detail. Okay, Bishop San did not dance to the government's tune in social political issues based on two fundamental reasons. And then, first of all, the government infiltration in religious matters and erosion of human rights. Because of his background, he had been in mainland China teaching for 10 years. And then during the time, well, during the weekend, he visited, well, the grassroots Catholic of every province to see the real situation of mainland. And then he had very, very few confidence in the government, what they say. And then he has to watch what they do. Now, these three pictures, well, to show that very significance. Well, the first one was as a priest, his speech. The second one, well, he joined the public, the social movement. The final one is he was very lonely in the Vatican, very, very lonely in the Vatican, because the Vatican did not follow his will. Okay. Well, the Catholic interaction in the Hong Kong SAR. What I mean by Hong Kong SAR? Hong Kong, after change into a Chinese rule, became the special administrative region. And then this one, well, I use this period as the very, not very exciting period. And then we have three kinds of social movement that participate by the Hong Kong people, and then involved by Bishop San. The first one was the right of apple controversy. I'll just mention about that. The second one is the legislative of Article 3 of Basic Law. this basic law is supposed to be against session and then opposition of the government. That means, well, they cannot have allied with the foreigners to overturn the government. And then the third one was the education reform. Well, Bishop Sen himself did not follow the mass rally on the street, but he just, well, advocate the idea, well, to tell the frontline workers and frontline lawyers, saying that, well, in the Catholic teaching, the law is a good law if it is for the common good. The law is a bad law if it is only for a few dictators and for the party itself. It is a bad law. That's why he had this kind of instruction of the right direction to the participants. That means, well, he was advocated as the real unseen leader, the black hands before the scene. Okay, the education reform is a failure because the Hong Kong government, Hong Kong SAR, have to follow the Beijing's the sentiment, well, to eliminate the Christian school, well, the Christian ideas into education as the traditional of communism. Okay, well, right now, I have come to this very important year because 2014 is in Hong Kong when Xi Jinping came to power. And then he had a very prominent policy, trying to tighten the freedom of China and of Hong Kong, so that, well, Hong Kong people was promised by the agreement that in the 2017 they should have this universal suffrage. But Xi Jinping, well, the government just refused it. Well, the people, the Democrats who opposed Beijing's denial of the universal suffrage in 2017 election of the chief executive as stipulated in the agreement. So that the agreement, the movement lasts for 3 months from September to December in 2014. And then in this movement, because the three leaders, 2 of them are Christians, 1 of them is the Christian pastors. The Christian orientation was very much felt. The 3 founders were Christians. Cardinal Sen, at the age of 82, slept on the street overnight and becoming the symbol figure, well, of the Catholic participation to support the people, well, just by this symbolic action. The movement did not yield any political effect because Xi Jinping's strategy, ignoring the Sino-British agreement and Hong Kong's one country two system, it was a failure. But the failure, that means the senior of the Democrats will find the young people are very disappointed. They're trying to have a program to preserve their energy, to preserve their willingness, and then to preserve, to amend their broken heart, you know, by giving them support. And Cardinal Sen is one of them, to give them spiritual support in this way. And then this one is called the anti-extradition movement in the 2018 and 2018. And then this one was based on the case of Chen Tongjian. Well, he killed his girlfriend in Taiwan and then escaped to Hong Kong. And then when he was, well, tried in Hong Kong asked the Taiwan government asked Hong Kong, well, to help. Hong Kong refused. But certainly, Hong Kong government will try to issue this anti-extradition movement. That's why I find that people find it a very funny, Because in this Taiwan case, you refuse to cooperate. Why? Hong Kong certainly raised up these questions because these questions was advocated by Beijing. Because in Hong Kong, extradition bill movement started as an opposition to supposed amendment of the Figurative Offences Ordinance. The bill would allow the Chinese government, it is the sense of the Chinese government, to exploit Hong Kong to judicial system and extradite suspects from Hong Kong to China. It is quite different because, when I'm a Hong Kong citizen, okay, when I have any offenses to the Chinese government, even I am in Taiwan or in Singapore, when I come to the immigration of Hong Kong government can grab me along and then will not judge me in Hong Kong case, but will send me back to China for the judgment. That's why Hong Kong people are very, very much concerned about that. If you judge me by Hong Kong, it is okay. But the extradition is the meaning of any opposition from China. China will say that, this guy is good, this guy is not good. This one is against me. With his action. When he came to the immigration, grab him along and then sent to Beijing for judgment. So the Hong Kong government, that means, the political struggle in 2019 aimed at a peaceful civil disobedience gradually towards escalation of violence. Why? Because, the people, they have the value. Everybody holding the white carpet saying that no extradition. But the Hong Kong police, try to have some triad members come into the big valley, and then try to disturb the order, and then make the peace movement into a very violent violation. The Hong Kong government suppressed the movement with brutality. They suppress so many people. They arrest many people. They have the detention, and then detention is terrible. In our common law, whenever you detain me, okay, you suspect me, Sister Beatrice, you are committed any crime. If the government cannot prove that, I have the crime, and then will send me to the court. Within 48 hours, you cannot find me any crime, you have to release me. But detention in Hong Kong is lifelong. Right now, the mass media tycoon, a Catholic, Jimmy Lai, he is in the detention, but not yet tried by the court yet. But he has been, in the prison, detained for 2.5 years already, without any trial. Okay, so the brutality of treating the Hong Kong people by the police. The police, I was told that many of them they are sent from mainland China. Okay, each one is a very, very important thing. The national security law sent in 2020, 20 years. This one, the security law, this piece of national security legislation concerning Hong Kong, and act under the decision of National People's Congress of People's Republic of China. That means in Beijing, in the NPC, in the parliament, they passed a law called the National Security Law to rule Hong Kong. This national security law was based on 4 particular crimes of succession, subversion, terrorism, and coalition with foreign organizations. Any open speech, verbal promotion, or intention on Hong Kong's succession from China is considered a crime as well. Whenever I spoke against the Hong Kong government, it is against the national security law, and then I will be caught by the government. So that there was mass arrest of nearly 7,000 of activists, and disqualify the pro-democratic lawmakers aimed at dismantling the institutions safeguarding the rule of law and human rights of the Hong Kong people. That means Hong Kong civil society has died already, all of a sudden, because 7 of the activities, and during these 2 years, from year of 2020 to 2022, during these 2 times, well, according to the Hong Kong immigration, there were 18,000 of Hong Kong families left Hong Kong. 18,000. So that these 18,000, they were in middle class and then professional. They cannot stand the Hong Kong national law. So, well, Hong Kong right now, from the pearl of the origin, will become, I don't know what is that. Oh. Now this law, well, was pronounced that Hong Kong will be very, very silent. Hong Kong would have been very obedient to any kind of suppression from Beijing. Okay, then a very, very prominent case. The Cardinal Sen was arrested. The Cardinal Sen, at the age of 19, he was arrested with other trustees of 612 Humanity Relief Fund. What mean by 612? That means the time when they set up this Humanity Relief Fund, because of those democratic movements, they have so many arrested people. The family and then the one who were detained, they need financial help and then they need special help. This Humanity Relief Fund, well, was set up by one of the barrister. The other one is a professor in sociology. The third one is a singer. They had collect a lot of money. And then they asked Cardinal Sen, be the middleman, to supervise the use of this fund so that they will say to the public, this fund is not for our own purpose, but really for those suffering, for detained people. So they provide assistance to individuals detained in connection with the series of large-scale pro-democratic protests in the 2019. That means in the protest, they arrest 7,000 people already. Many of them, they need this kind of financial service. And then Cardinal Sen, well, try to oblige to join them and then to work with them. Well, the Vatican response was understated and to put it very mildly. Well, the arrest of Cardinal is very dramatic. And then it is very stupid by the Hong Kong government. Why? How can you arrest a Vatican's cardinal? Vatican in the international politics is a sovereign state. The Pope is the head of the state. And then the cardinal is next to the Pope, the very high officials of a state. Okay, that means, well, on that night, 8 o'clock, Cardinal was taken to the police office. Immediately, before midnight, he was released. Because within these 4 hours, both the government, both international news, both American presidents, and both the British, saying that, well, it is unbelievable. You can arrest these high officials. And then I try to examine why Hong Kong government is so stupid like that. It is very stupid because by that time, it was a new executive director called Li Jiaqiao, well, came to power. Well, Li Jiaqiao came to power also 1 week, and then he tried to arrest Cardinal Sen as a kind of to show the obedience, loyalty to Beijing. But he did not realize that it is a big mistake. So Cardinal Tran was arrested, but he was released, and then he was judged. Well, the judgment was not according to the national security law. The judgment, well, is very light to ask him for the financial punishment. Each one to pay a few $1,000, just a punishment, and then that's all. Because, well, the case come to the international politics. They find that, well, it is so stupid. How can you arrest the high officials of a sovereign state? But the Pope's statement did not give a lot of support to Cardinal Tran. Maybe the Pope has been influenced by the high official of the Vatican, because I myself find that they have different views on the communism. The European view communist is the European communist. They are one of the political parties. They do not practice atheism. And then the Bolshevik, they emphasize on dictatorship of the party. They have the military power to protect the party itself. It's quite different. So that maybe the European have to build the European communism, well, instead of the Bolshevik communism. Okay, and then come to this one. And then, well, in Hong Kong, it is not so much about the prophetic action of Cardinal Tran. We have a new bishop. He is a Jesuit. The new Catholic leadership implement social teaching. He is in switch in between the government and the Hong Kong people. And then the new bishop, Bishop Stephen Zhao, well, had a different approach to implement Catholic social teaching in this church governance. First of all, on one hand, he will not forget the social teaching of the church to comfort and preserve the spirituality wounded. They were wounded, the young Catholic wounded by that. Finally, the Bishop Zhao himself has been very careful to transfer his message in social teaching to his Catholics, when he himself has been very careful to in social teaching when democracy has been suffocated and freedom of Hong Kong has been increased tightening. He said democracy has been tightening up, but he himself is very careful in such a way that during his previous visit to Beijing, he talked about 爱国, well, to be patriotic. Patriotic is very common diction, common terms of the Chinese government. You must love the country, and then you love your religion. To love the country, that means to love the party. But Bishop Stephen saying that, well, we love the country. Well, our social teaching asks us to love the country. But love the country is love the people. He never mentioned the party itself. And then he said that we would like to support the people. We would like to wish the government to govern better. Now we pray for the government itself, and then we would like to have a dialogue with them. That means, well, after his speech, well, to the Catholics, I find that the listener is not the Catholic themselves, but the Beijing officials. So the Beijing officials saying that we are saying nothing to him, but he himself, as a Jesuit, how can he forget the Catholic teaching of the Jesuits? The Jesuits have been suffering for long years, well, both in Shanghai in the 50s, and then the Jesuits have a long history of conversion in China. Okay, so that in the Hong Kong Church has a reasonable, good record of implementing the social teaching of the Church. We have a very good record already. And the diocese is the only diocese well, among the Chinese-speaking dioceses, well, to establish the Justice Peace Commission of Hong Kong Catholic Association as a branch of the Pontifical Justice and Peace Commission. But this commission, well, was forced by Chinese government, well, to suppress it. And then how can Bishop Zhao, well, to oppose this idea is very clever. Really, I find that this is a cunning man. Cunning in such a way, he changed the name of the Pontifical Justice and Peace Commission and changed into the name of another name of a whole personal development with the same staff well, holding the policy. Okay. Hong Kong Catholic participation in political and societal issues and achievement is laudable. We have good achievement, I should say that. Okay. The leadership provided by Joseph Cardinal Tran through a confrontation style, yet the iconic effect of the modern prophet has been felt. We find that Cardinal Tran is a prophet. He's not an good administrator. But Bishop Zhao is a good administrator, here to see all around the things, not to offend the government so much, and to appease his own Catholic people. Okay, the new Hong Kong Bishop Zhao is following the footsteps of Cardinal Tran to implement the Catholic teaching in his own way, at his own time, in a very balanced way. So, well, it is a good administrator. He emphasized on for the endurance in this very difficult time in winter. Now, fortunately, we have this good leadership. Okay, this is the conclusion. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sister. We have a very...
forgotten to tell you that. It is Cardinal Tran. After he stepped down from Hong Kong, well, he continued to have the printing and translation of the social teaching of the Church into Chinese. This one is the combination, the compendium of social teaching of the Vatican. And then I find it is my second Bible. It is very comprehensive. And then it was the Cardinal Tran, after he stepped down to be the Hong Kong bishop. He used his way to promote the social teaching by translating the literature. It is very, very good book.
Yes, we regret we don't have much time to hear Sister Beatrice papers on Hong Kong. Yes, this is very precious lectures for us, especially for the people who are concerned with certain Catholic teaching in communist countries. Hong Kong is not yet, but almost. So we have to prepare for that. I just said one very simple experience of myself. About 15 years ago, I have asked the German Bishop Conference to cooperate with the Vietnamese government to fund a series of lectures on equality, justice in Vietnam. So I persuaded the Vietnamese Bishop Conference to participate. The German Bishop Conference, the English Bishop Conference, and Vietnam. And we organized the fourth lecture for conference, a series of 4 conferences. But what happened? After the first conference, then the Archbishop of Hanoi was replaced by the order on the bishop, because he's very active to ask the government to return back the property of the church and to take care of the poor. So the government was not very happy. As the Vatican II kicked the Archbishop of Hanoi out of the place and replaced with a new bishop and become academic, was by teacher. So I'm very sorry for the Archbishop, the loss. So every year when I come back to Vienna, I come to visit him. But that is just one lesson. I know the lesson of Cardinal Zen, although this is not an exception. That's very common in communist country, and we have just to pray for them. Okay. Now you have now 10 until 15 minutes for question and answer. We have two speakers, please, to share your question for two, please. Yes. Okay, any question? Okay, that's the first question. Thank you.
Thanks, Sister Leung's inspiring sharing. I'm a PhD student in our辅仁Catholic University. That study the relation between Catholic social teaching and the secular human rights. So just ask Professor Leung a simple question. Is it that true or real that the Catholic social teaching teach Christian that we have the obligation to love the country? That means 有没有爱国真的是这个社会训导所讲的，还是只是 Bishop Stephen Joe's interpretation and elaboration? Thanks, Sister Leung, so much.
Well, I do feel that if a religion did not ask us to love our country, well, the religions cannot survive in this country. As a citizen, why should I believe in the religion and then I oppose my own country? But to love the country, 爱国, well, in the diction, in the orientation of communism, you must love the party itself. That's why after Bishop Zhao visited China, he said that 我们爱国, we love the country, but the country represented by the people. That's why he said very, very strongly, saying that 我爱国, I am patriotic. Well, it's equivalent to the I love my people. He never said that I love the state and anything or the party itself. But that's why, well, that's why I say that his speech is for the audience in Beijing and then for the audience of the outsiders. When for the audience of outsider, we understand that, well, he's telling the truth. But in Beijing, he is very happy. He can make propaganda that 爱国, the Hong Kong, the bishop will support us 爱国. But the 爱国, the equivalent to love the Communist Party. Right now, if you love the Communist Party, that's the end of the religion. Because right now the Communist Party issue many, many regulations aiming at the extension of any religion. Now, the diction is quite different.
Okay, all the questions, yes, please.
我说中文，请问高老师、高教授谢谢您做的这么好的把福音的喜乐做得这么好。可是我发觉台湾大部分的教友，天主教友没有这个 sense， 就可能是神父们不知道福音的喜乐怎么去落实，因为大部分教友还是在教堂里从事教堂工作，好像对社区社会没办法，就像李主教在主教团推堂区要进入社区。怎么社区去影响社区、关怀社区这些弱势的？可是好像很难是不是？我们要怎么再去？就像我们几个教会机构教会学校怎么帮忙教区、堂区去落实您刚才提的这个福音的喜乐？这是我第一个问题我再请问修女，翻译为中文英文不是这么好，因为就他刚刚谈到。就是那个什么周主教嘛18年前他在哈佛念教育博士，我刚好去，也住在他们的哈佛的会院10天他接待我。可是后来发现，就像修女讲的，好像比较不会跟共产党 中共去正面的去，可能就像修女说的，他很小心。刚才我们如果没有修女说的讲解哈，说出来我就觉得，他好像很亲中共，感觉了哈，除了感觉一下，但他不像就是陈日君书记这样他敢就讲那个公正的话，可是他真的很小心了哈，一个耶稣会的会士真的像修女讲很小心，说这个真的是保护，就是在香港的天主教会。还在中国的这些超2000万的天主教的这些弟兄姐妹，所以你觉得他应该再继续用这种方式是比较好吗？谢谢。
好，那我简单回答一下这个，因为这个是很大的工程了哈。那我还是用我对教宗的体会，就是我最后提出来的，首先。能够做的话，先去福传吧。福传，教宗已经讲了，福传不是要人改变信仰，而是把你从信仰当中得到的爱、得到的喜乐，去跟别人分享。而在分享的过程当中，你就能够让更多人去感受这份爱。那这份爱，一旦能够拓展出去的时候，它才有可能形成一种由下而上的一种共识。而这也是教宗现在一直很强调的同道协行、共益的一个精神，有时是从下而上的一种共识，而不再是由上而下的一种命令或者是一种执行的活动。那当我们能够去分享这份爱的时候，当我们能够共同去面对贫穷，然后共同为了贫穷而努力去对话的时候，我们就能够把这个东西、这个概念推展到我们的社区、我们的生活周遭，从我们自己开始。所以就像我们今天的研讨会，当我们如果觉得这个东西是好的，那当我们愿意去分享的时候，它就可以去落实，就可以去实践。教宗非常强调一件事情，就是所有的一切都在日常生活当中来完成，包含在日常当中去灵修、去领受天主所给的一切的爱。好，这是我简单的回答，谢谢。
我回答你的问题。You know, when we compare Cardinal Zen and Bishop Zhao, we can see the two roles and two personalities. Cardinal Zen is like a prophet, like a comet in the dark sky. He just appears very shortly because he can rule Hong Kong, well, just for 4 years. And then the Vatican did not extend his office, but he had to work along the common people. And then he played the role of a prophetic role because he had no administration duty behind him. By that time, when he slept on the street, when he supported the movement, he was not the Bishop of Hong Kong already. Okay, then come to Bishop Zhao. Bishop Zhao was chosen in a very, very difficult way. Okay, can I share with you this secretly? Well, because after the death of the previous Bishop Michael Young, well, the first auxiliary bishop, Bishop Ha, was to be the successor automatically. Beijing said no, because he's very aggressive. He led the young people to go on the street. Okay, and then, well, the communists, well, set aside, and then he had influenced the people to set a certain Father T. Okay, that Father T was very, very pro-China, and then very, very good friends with Beijing. And Beijing said that, oh, this one, I like it, I like you very much. But the Hong Kong Catholics, the very royal Catholics, and then this group of professional and middle class, among their Facebooks, their Twitters, well, talking among themselves, and point out that this Father T is not appropriate to be our political, our spiritual leader. If he will come to lead Hong Kong, we will, as a group of 50 people, we will leave the church quietly. well, this message went to Vatican. Vatican cannot neglect, well, this kind of, well, the view of the laity. That's why, well, stop the case of Father T, and then selected again among the religious people. Well, Bishop Zhao, well, was selected, and then Bishop Zhao was accepted by our people because he can speak. We say that he had 4 tongues. He can speak. He can speak to the to Beijing. At the same time, the message is for our young people, our people. At the same time, he tried to, well, advocate the spirituality of the young people, and then the reading of the Bible first to strengthen, and then to preserve them. Well, they give the analogy saying that we are the special plant, well, living, growing in the crack of the 2 big rocks. It is very difficult for us to survive, but we have to have the endurance, and then these 2 big rocks will follow, and then give them the hope of the, well, it is in the dark winter, spring will come, but, well, we have to ask the young people not to endure the sufferings by themselves individually, but form a group. They will share among the happiness and then the suffering together. I find that, well, I expect him to have a very, very good governance, well, in the Hong Kong Church, well, in the long way. And then I expect him to have more double meaning of speech to come to please Beijing, and then at the same time, well, for the Hong Kong Catholics.
Before to conclude, I just have a very short comment on Professor Gao. I think it's a question for the church is, what is the better solution? Confrontation or cooperation?
Yeah.
So in the case of Vietnam or Hong Kong, the same. In 30 years in confrontation, the church is almost at the end. No more priests, no more church girls, nothing. And after the change, when with the public cooperation, they know the church is growing. And therefore, the question for the church is to keep it better. In order to do that, and we choose a strategy. We are not protesting. This doesn't mean that we are not against. We keep silence. This doesn't mean that we are pro. No, that's nothing to do with that. That's a strategy. And in this sense, we can understand Pope Francis is very much for our cause, for justice for pride. But in some cases, he keeps silent. That is a wise decision in some cases. It cannot be applied for everything. That's the difference. So that's my short comment on the paper of Professor Gao. In case of Vietnam, no, we are much better now. If you have a time to go to Vietnam, you cannot imagine how the church is full. In one Sunday, 5 Mass, and still full. No, you cannot be there. And even the last year, the church now can have procession. Mary procession on the street. That's never happened before. So I just want to say that that's good, better or not, but I just said that's the way that the church authority, they are thinking of that, to keep their shape, to keep the church as good as possible. So I just stop it. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance today. We have to thank two speakers, Professor Marian Cao, I'm sorry, Professor Beatrice Leung and Professor Cao, because I know very much know the sister Marian Cao, so I just I am now 75 years old and my memory is lost, really. And thank you everybody to participate and to raise a question and the question. And we have now the dinner. And just say good appetite.